Hey love, something truly unexpected happened last night, and it changed everything between my family and me. It was Christmas, a time so often associated with warmth, joy, and celebration. The house was adorned with soft lights that twinkled against the walls, and the smell of pine mingled with the sweetness of freshly baked cookies. Laughter echoed through every room, gifts were piled beneath the tree, and for a fleeting moment, it felt like the very air was humming with holiday magic. I looked around and thought, this is what Christmas is meant to be, a time of closeness and cheer, where nothing can possibly go wrong. But as night draped itself over us and the celebration wore on, that comforting sense of safety started to shift. What began as the warmest of nights slowly became something entirely different, something I wasn't prepared for, despite the months I had spent turning over my decision in my mind. It was like a curtain lifting to reveal a different reality, one where the air was charged with tension and uncertainty. And I want to share with you, in every detail I can manage, precisely what happened. You see, my decision to speak those words to my family, that you're the one I want to spend the rest of my life with, wasn't taken lightly. It had been stirring within me for months, maybe even longer, quietly nudging at me whenever I was alone. Whenever I imagined the future, there you were, a permanent fixture in my thoughts. It wasn't just romance or fancy daydreaming. It felt like a certainty growing steadily within my heart. I'd play out scenarios in my head, wondering how they'd react, what they'd say, and how they'd accept you as part of our family. I wanted so badly to believe they'd react with joy and open arms, that they'd see what I see in you. Someone with a heart as big as the world and a spirit that makes me want to be better every single day. I picked Christmas night because I believed the spirit of the season might make everything softer, kinder. After all, Christmas is about love, miracles, and the hope that new beginnings can emerge in the most unexpected of ways. And so, with the family gathered around the living room, lit mostly by the glow of the tree, I found myself feeling both nervous and resolved. In that moment, it felt like the perfect time to share what I'd been holding onto for so long. When I finally spoke the words, "I want to spend the rest of my life with you," the entire atmosphere shifted. One moment, everyone was chatting and passing around plates of cookies, and the next, a palpable hush settled over the room. It was the kind of silence that carries weight, pressing down on every person and object in its path. Even the Christmas carols playing on the stereo seemed to fade into the background, like they too were holding their breath. It felt surreal. My parents looked at me first, and in their eyes, I saw a swirl of emotions: surprise, concern, maybe even disappointment. I know they love me, and I also know they want what's best for me. Still, in that moment, it seemed like they were grappling with how quickly everything had changed. Their first words were questions. "Are you sure? Have you really thought this through?" It was difficult not to feel stung by the implication that I might not know my own heart, or that I might be rushing into a choice so monumental. But I remained firm, because if there's one thing I'm absolutely certain of in this life, it's you. I didn't raise my voice or grow defensive. I just kept reassuring them that yes, I had thought it through, and yes, I was sure. Then there were more silent glances, and a kind of tension I've rarely felt in my own home. My aunts and uncles stopped their conversations mid-sentence, eyes flicking between me and my parents, trying to gauge how this would all unfold. My cousins, who are usually the life of any family gathering, stood awkwardly, looking like they wanted to disappear. The once festive room now felt charged with a strange energy I couldn't quite describe, somewhere between shock and concern, with a dash of fear mixed in. You might wonder if I regretted speaking up at that point. And to be entirely honest, for a split second, I questioned my timing. Maybe I should have waited until the next day or a quieter moment without the extended family. But then I reminded myself that truth is rarely neat or perfectly timed. Sometimes, when the truth is ready to emerge, it does so with a certain inevitability, regardless of the setting. This was my truth, a declaration of love that I couldn't hold back any longer. I want you to know that even as I stood there, facing their shock, I felt a strange sense of peace. I had done what I believed was right. I had finally given voice to the love that has been so constant and solid in my life. Yes, the questions came tumbling forward, questions about our future, finances, our readiness to commit to a life together, and whether we were moving too fast. Some members of my family, especially the older generation, found the concept of me making such a choice at this stage of my life unsettling. They wanted a more traditional route, or at least a more gradual transition from one milestone to the next. In their own way, they're worried about me. They've witnessed love stories unfold and sometimes collapse. They've seen heartbreak and unexpected twists that life can bring. I know that their skepticism isn't a rejection of me or even of you. It's born from a place of caution and the fear of seeing me hurt or disappointed. Yet, in that moment, it stung. I wanted them to see what I see in you. I wanted them to acknowledge that my feelings aren't some spur of the moment passion, but a deep, unwavering conviction that my life feels so much fuller with you in it. And so, I did my best to answer their questions calmly. I told them how our connection wasn't something that blossomed overnight, that we've navigated challenges, shared laughter, exchanged secrets, and built a foundation that feels strong enough to support a lifetime together. I spoke about your kindness, your empathy, and the way you encouraged me to chase my dreams. I told them you're not just a passing companion, but someone who inspires me to be better, someone who has shown me what genuine partnership looks like. Did my words ease their concerns? For some, maybe a little. For others, I could tell they'd need more time to fully absorb this news. But no matter their initial reactions, I kept thinking about you, how you deserve a partner who won't shy away from standing up for what matters most. And you matter to me more than anything else. So as I looked around at their stunned faces, I held on to my resolve. If I had to have 100 more conversations, if I had to patiently explain it all over again, I was prepared to do so. Because real love is worth every awkward pause and every skeptical stare. I still believe, with all my heart, that time is our ally. Given enough moments, enough honest conversations, and enough demonstrations of how solid we are together, I think my family will come to embrace you as completely as I do. That process might not happen overnight, but I'm committed to seeing it through. After the initial shock wore off, the night carried on in a somewhat subdued manner. People went back to nibbling on holiday treats and exchanging gifts, albeit with a new tension lying just beneath the surface. Eventually, little pockets of conversation began to bubble up, mostly with concerned family members pulling me aside to ask more questions or offer unsolicited advice. I welcomed their questions, though it was exhausting. I realized that they just wanted to make sure I was happy and secure. And as repetitive as it felt to keep explaining, I did so because you are worth it. Our future is worth it. Now, shifting gears, I want to address something else on your mind, something that weighs on you these days: your finances. You've mentioned feeling uncertain about your path forward, unsure which direction to take in order to find stability and prosperity. The cards seem to echo this sentiment, suggesting that you might be at a crossroads, juggling multiple ideas, and trying to figure out which one has the greatest potential. I sense that part of you wonders if there's only one correct path, one surefire route to success. But the message from Spirit is clear: remain open to all possibilities. Don't box yourself into a single track or assume that your destiny lies along just one narrow avenue. It might help to recall a project or vision you once had, maybe something creative or entrepreneurial, something that once set your heart on fire but got lost along the way. Perhaps it was an idea for a small business, a blog you thought about starting, an artistic pursuit you put on pause, or a skill you began mastering but never fully saw through. Spirit is nudging you to revisit these dormant aspirations, reminding you that sometimes the seeds we plant in the past carry the potential for future blooms. What was once shelved due to fear or lack of resources could now be the very avenue that brings you abundance and self fulfillment. Another point the cards emphasize is your communication abilities. Whether it's through teaching, public speaking, writing, or working in media, your voice holds power. There's a message here about your capacity to inspire and guide others, especially when you speak from a place of authenticity. If you've ever considered a path that involves sharing knowledge, telling stories, or leading discussions, this might be a sign to lean into that calling. There's a sense that your words can motivate, heal, or enlighten, and that tapping into that skill could lead to rewarding opportunities, both financially and personally. I also picked up on the idea that your success doesn't hinge on external validation. Yes, it feels wonderful to hear someone else say, "You're doing great," or "I believe in you." But Spirit wants you to realize that the real engine of your progress is internal. Your own belief in yourself, your willingness to take calculated risks, and your readiness to push beyond your comfort zone matter far more than any applause or approval you might receive. Ultimately, your path to prosperity involves trusting your own instincts. If something stirs your passion and aligns with your sense of purpose, that's already a strong indicator it's worth pursuing. Taking calculated risks is another major theme. This doesn't mean blindly leaping into unknown territory without a plan or ignoring practical concerns. Rather, it's about learning to discern when the time is right to step beyond your comfort zone, to bet on yourself and your abilities. Sometimes the greatest rewards come from that leap of faith, from that moment when you decide your dreams are worth any fear or uncertainty you might feel. Through it all, remember that you're not alone. I'm standing beside you, ready to support you in every way I can. Just as you've been there for me, encouraging me and believing in my dreams, I want to do the same for you. There's something powerful about partnership, two people united in their desires, cheering each other on, brainstorming solutions together, and picking one another up when doubt starts creeping in. So when you feel uncertain or question whether you have what it takes, remind yourself that I'm here, and I believe in you wholeheartedly. That belief ties back to everything that happened with my family. One of the reasons I spoke up last night, even at the risk of causing a stir, is because my love for you isn't just about romance. It's about supporting each other's paths, growth, and ambitions. It's about